Welcome to Gemini Star Spiritual Wellness. It's been a little while since I did a video. I was busy last week with family, spending time with family, so I didn't have a chance to make one. But my goal on this channel is to make one about every couple days, maybe about twice a week. So, of course, that depends on my schedule, what I have going on in my day job, in my day-to-day life. Sometimes it might be a little bit less than that, but I'm going to try to keep it to about 2 times a week. So today's video, we're going to talk a little bit more about spiritual ascension and awakening. And that's been a theme I've been working on for the last couple videos. This is the fourth video in this series. But it's a topic I feel is very important, and I don't really see it talked about much on YouTube. I don't remember seeing anyone else talking about it. So I wanted to come on here today and talk about it as part of the spiritual ascension awakening experience because it happened to me personally, and I just wanted to share my experiences and knowledge with all of you. So today we're going to be talking about the dark side. And when I say the dark side, that is my nickname for it. But actually, I'm talking about lower vibrational entities and negative oriented beings. Okay. So that's what I mean when I say dark side. Because they're not with the light, so to speak, right? They don't have that divine spark like we do. They're not connected to source divine energy. So they are what I quote dark side. That's why I call them that. So, my experience with the dark side started when I was young. I was a teenager when I remember really having my first experiences with them. And it was more back then on a mental level, a psychological level. So, they do have the ability to influence your thoughts, right? And really control you that way, but they can influence you how you're thinking and feeling, and they can have that ability to do that to you. And I remember back then that I struggled a lot of times with really crazy visions and dreams that they were a part of, and them basically trying to influence me through those thoughts, dreams, and visions. When I got older, that went away, that stopped, but once I started going through the ascension awakening process in recent times, it kicked up again. But this time it was a little bit different than it was when I was a teenager. It wasn't so much psychological as it was more physical. So what I mean by that is I would have experiences with them that were, not positive, but they were experiences that usually happened when I was, like, in a vision or in another dimension. So, how best way to describe this, and bear with me because I'm gonna try to describe this as best I can, but it's a little difficult if you've never experienced it. But basically, a lot of times these experiences and would happen when I'm in a state between asleep and awake. So I'm not totally asleep, but I'm not fully awake. I'm, like, in that relaxed state. And basically, they would come at me and attack me when I was in that state, and it's like, we were, like, in another dimension, okay? It's the best way to describe it. So sometimes I could like, see them, like, outside of my body because 'cause I'm, like, in another dimension, you know? Sometimes I was there, sometimes I was elsewhere, but it would sometimes go on to lead to a vision, and sometimes it wouldn't. So it just depended on the situation. I noticed that it started kicking up probably about maybe 2 or 3 years after I started the ascension process. And at first, I didn't really know what was going on. Now, I did have experience with them when I was a teenager. So, but like I said, that was more psychological. This time it was more physically, where they were actually physically attacking me, and there was and, of course, a psychological component to it, right? But it was more of a physical, experience, and that was different for me, and it started kicking up really sudden, and it was pretty intense, and it lasted for a couple years. And I remember at the time, I really didn't know what was going on. I was really kind of freaked out and scared and fearful in the beginning because all of a sudden I'm having these crazy experiences, that I never had before. And it's like, what the heck is going on? you know? Now, these experiences are different from the experiences, that I have with people that are deceased, right? As in my mediumship abilities, I've had plenty experiences with people that have passed over, right, that are on the other side, that are deceased. And those are different because usually when the dead come to you or come to me, it's usually for a reason. They have a message to give you. There's information they want to share with you. I mean, there's a reason why they're there reaching out to you. They need my help in some way or something like that. But it's a positive interaction. You never feel threatened, you never feel afraid. The energy is not negative. But with this dark side, it's a different story. And a lot of people are like, "Well, how do you know that, they're negative and not positive?" Well, it's because of the energy signature they give off, because they have a certain vibration frequency to them. And when they show up, you know it. Like, you can feel the difference. It's kinda like a feeling of dread, and, you can definitely feel it's like a very negative vibration, and you feel it right away, and you know who they are, right? And then I've, had also experiences with, beings of light that are high vibrational, that are positively oriented, and it's a completely different experience. With beings like that, what I felt is like unconditional love is the best way to describe it. When you're around them, it's a very positive, uplifting feeling. Definitely a feeling of unconditional love when you're around them. It's like you're being enveloped, in a blanket of unconditional love. Now, you don't feel that way with the dark side, right? Because that's not where they are in their vibration. So their vibration's much lower, and that's what you're going to feel with them. So when this was going on, like I said, it was, more physical attacks, but it was like attacks in the, it would start in another dimension, but then there'd be like lingering effects in the third dimension. Now I'll give you an example. So in the beginning, there was like, I guess I called them grunt workers. They were like, I guess, lower level dark side entities, and they would come at me and physically attack me. And I remember in this one situation, I had a vision where this one entity attacked me. And the best way to describe it is it looked like a little vampire, maybe about 3, 4 feet tall, and it had these like teeth like a piranha. Okay. And it was coming at me and it was attacking me, and I remember, like, I had this vision, I'm running around, like, my bedroom, my house, trying to get away from it, right? And it's coming at me, and I go on my bed, and it jumps on my bed, and it with me, and it's, like, biting my arms, so, like, my forearms from my, wrist down to my elbow, right? So I'm going like this, trying to protect myself, and then when I snapped out of the vision, I actually had bite marks, on my arm from where it was attacking me. So that's what I'm saying. It was like a linger effect that I could see in the third dimension when I snapped out of it. So the best way I could describe it is, it's like, basically you're in a vision or a trance-like state. Well, at least I was when this was happening. And sometimes it got to the point where I would know that they were gonna attack me that night because, and this is kinda creepy, but when I would be in my room getting ready for bed, and I'd be laying in bed, getting comfortable, getting ready for bed, I would hear them. And if I heard like a growling sound, kind of faint growling sound, and it's be quick, just a few seconds, then I knew something was gonna happen because 'cause they're already in the room with me. I just can't see them in the vibration I was at the moment. And sure enough, if I heard a noise like that, a few minutes later, once I started dozing off, that's when they come at me. So this went on for a while, and it was all kinds of like little grunt workers, like little, I guess, gremlin things, the best way to describe them. But it was really scary, and terrifying in the beginning when I started going through this because I really didn't understand what was going on, and you really can't talk to people about this. What are you going to say? I'm being attacked by, dark side entities. They're going to think, something's going on with you that's not positive, right? They're going to be concerned and worried and scared. So I really couldn't talk to people about this, but I learned as time went on that, I learned how to handle it basically and how to fight them off. And I'll tell you that in a second. But I went all the way from grunt workers, I had experiences with them. And sometimes it was like the same entities over and over again. I remember this one that was relentless and he bothered me for a couple years. And it wasn't like this stuff happened every day, but it was pretty frequent. Like maybe, once a month or something, I would have something happen like this, and it was pretty regularly for a while, for a couple years. And there's this one entity I remember he was very much, one of the main ones that was constantly messing with me. Um, but then I also had some experiences with more high level demonic beings. The difference with them is their energy signature. You could tell that they were higher level. Their energy signature was stronger than with the grunt workers. And I remember when they showed up, they definitely looked more human than the grunt workers did. More humanoid, more human like us. But I remember they had completely black eyes. So they didn't have like whites of their eyes like we do. Their eyes were similar to ours, but completely black. And so that was another really kind of scary, unique experience. But what I learned is I basically learned how to fight them off as time went on. And one of the things I learned is that the dark side feeds off of our fears, right? So when we're afraid, that gives them energy. So when I say feed off of our fear, fear, anything that's negative emotions that we put off. So fear, not just being scared, but anger, anything like that, they feed off of. So basically, like when I say feed, I literally mean like, like we're a battery and they're taking our energy from us when we're in that state, when we're in a fear state or whatever it's like. So we're literally feeding them. And you think about it, they're not connected to divine source through a divine spark like we do. So they don't have that within us. And that spark is what keeps us connected to the divine, that energetic spark. They don't have that, right? So the only way they get energy, since they don't get it from the divine, is from us and other sources. So they want to keep us in a state of fear because that gives them power and feeds them, literally, right? So one thing I learned to do was not be afraid. And I figured this out. So when they would show up, then it was, basically like game on, right? And I would, in the beginning I was afraid, but I started getting really annoyed because this was happening regularly. So then I got angry, which was probably, that's not a good positive emotion either. It's lower vibrational, but I was like, okay, you want a piece of me, I'm going to give you a piece of me, right? And I remember just start fighting back. Like I'd just be swinging at them. And I'm not, proud to say this, would be a lot of cuss words coming out of my mouth, at them while I'm doing this. But once I started fighting back and basically like defending myself in that sense, I noticed that it became less and less frequent where they started coming after me. And then it got to the point like lately, it's extremely rare now that I have any of those kind of experiences. So it went on for a while, pretty intense, and then it started lighting up, like lessening, and now it's very rare I have those experiences. I still do once in a great while, but it's pretty rare. So basically, what I think is going on when you start awakening and ascending, your vibration is lifting, right? And you're becoming who you truly are, right? Who we're meant to be. You're getting ready to fulfill your mission and purpose on the earth. You're getting ready to help the planet raise the vibration. So you're changing and you're getting stronger in a spiritual sense, right? Your vibration frequency is rising. You're getting stronger, and you're getting into that mission and purpose, right? Well, the dark side obviously doesn't want us to do that. They don't want us to be at our full potential. They don't want us to be able to fulfill our mission and purpose. They want to intimidate us and they want to keep us in that low vibrational state, whether it's through actual physical attacks or through more of a mental, psychological, where they're, trying to control your thoughts. And what I mean by controlling your thoughts is negative thoughts. Because sometimes if you have negative thoughts that pop in your head from nowhere, that you're like, that didn't come from me, it's probably from them. So anything to, hold you down, to keep you from arising and ascending and becoming who you truly are. So they don't want you to be empowered in yourself. They want you to think, you can't accomplish anything, and you're not worth anything, and why even bother trying, and all those kind of negative self-talk that we can have in our head. I think a lot of times that's coming from these dark entities because they don't want us to realize the potential that we have within ourselves, and they don't want us to rise to that potential because they know about us and what we can do, right? And they're trying to keep us from ascending, trying to keep us from reaching that potential. So they can do it either by, attacking you physically and keeping you in a state of fear, or doing it through mental thought process, and the negative self-talk, right? And keeping you, in a negative mindset in that way, right? So the goal is to keep you in that lower vibration, that lower frequency. So another thing I learned over the years with dark side is the best way to fight them, which, like I said, I basically did it by swinging punches and cussing, but it's not just that. It's basically how, I also the best way to fight them, and which I discovered, even though my first reaction was to fight them back that way, but really it's about not being afraid. Because when you're no longer afraid of them, right, they don't have any power over you. And you realize that you're stronger than they are. And we are stronger than they are, right? They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to realize that. So they're going to try to keep you in that fear state. But once you're no longer afraid and you're like, okay, bring it, bring it on, and you're basically going up against them and holding your ground and not being afraid, then they realize that, you're a tough nut to crack and they're not getting anywhere with you, right? And then they're going to leave you alone. And I think that's part of why over the last couple years my experiences have really went down, and I'm not having those experiences like I did. I think it's because I've learned to basically stand up to them and not be afraid, right? And also, it helps to keep your vibration and frequency high. So you definitely want to do things to keep your vibration and frequency on a high level, because if you're in a negative mindset and you're in a low vibrational place all the time, then it's going to be easier for them to come in and influence you, or mess around with you, right? So the best way to basically keep them at bay would be to stay in a higher vibration. And also, I think there's a few other things going on right now, that go into why I haven't been having as many experiences, and it's extremely rare now. Is I think that there's other things going on in the world. So we have the Earth is moving up into the new Earth. So we have definitely the vibration and frequency of the planet is lifting, and they can't handle that, right? So they could be leaving the planet or leaving this dimension, right? And going elsewhere. They could be taken care of by the light, because we do have light forces here fighting them as well, and getting them off planet. So it could be that is going on as well. So I think there's been a shift where the light is definitely in charge now, and they've been taking them out. So maybe the reason why I'm not getting attacked as much as I used to is there's just not many of them around anymore, because they've been dealt with by the light a lot, by the light side, and been taken care of that way. So that could very well be why, I haven't had the experiences like I used to. But I wanted to share this all with you because it can be very scary when you're going through it. I just remember in the beginning, I was terrified because I didn't understand what was going on. But as time went on, I started to realize, what was going on, and the best way to protect myself, and, protect myself from them, and to fight them off. And basically now I just try to stay in a high vibration frequency. I just try to meditate regularly and keep myself in a very high level place so that they don't really, they can't get to me, they can't bother me. And another thing is going with the high vibrational frequency. One of the visions I saw was basically how they can't handle that high vibration frequency. So I had a vision where I was in a room, and we had been rounding up these dark entities, me and another group of people that were, like workers like me, and we were rounding them up. And the vibration of the frequency of the room was going higher and higher. And it got to the point where it got so high that, they just basically went poof and turned into ash. I guess is the best way to describe it, and just disappeared. And they were afraid, like, they knew that the vibration of the room was rising, they could feel it, and they were trying to get out of the room and, trying to break the wall down to get out, and they couldn't do it in time, and, of course, they all went poof and disappeared into piles of ash and just disappeared. So, that shows you that they can't handle those higher vibration and frequencies. So, as the planet goes up in vibration and frequency, that's definitely gonna affect them, and like I said, they're either probably leaving the planet, leaving the dimension, or they're being taken care of by the forces of light to get them out of here. So that could be definitely, part of what's going on. But also the dark side, they can also work on you through other people too. So basically, if you have friends or relatives, they could or try to get to you through people you know. It doesn't even have to be friends or relatives, people you work with, just people that you're in contact with. They could try to get to you through that way by influencing the thoughts and actions of the people that you're interacting with, right? Because a lot of people don't realize that this is going on. They don't know that there's dark entities running around, dark side doing this kind of stuff. And so they're kind of oblivious. So they that could happen as well. So just be, mindful of that and just always use your discernment. And I found out over the years of my life that I can always sense through people's energy, if there's something negative around or not. I can pick that up, and you'll be able to pick that up as well because you'll feel it intuitively. Like I've been around people where I definitely knew something was off with them, and there was definitely a negative energy signature with them. I don't know if there was an entity around them or if it was them or what was going on, but I could definitely feel it. And sometimes it would manifest in me this feeling as like nauseated stomach, like you get kind of a sick feeling in your stomach when you're around this person. But, and then as time went on and I got better at sensing this, so to speak, people's energy signatures, and it would, went from that sick sense in my stomach, sick feeling to just kind of a repulsive feeling. And I'm like, ooh, I could feel something wasn't quite right, and I knew I needed to, stay away from that situation. But it's also can be on the flip side too with, being, around people that are of light, that are positive, you're gonna feel that as well, and you'll feel drawn to those people because they're very positive, right? So I just wanted to come on here today and talk a little bit about the dark side, and just to let you know that this can happen when you start to ascend and go through the awakening process, because you're waking up and you're becoming, like I said, who you're meant to be. You're changing into your true self. Your vibration and frequency is rising, right? And you're getting ready for the new earth, and you're getting ready for your mission and purpose. And the dark side doesn't want you to do that, right? So I assume their goal with me is when I started going through this process, they were going to try to scare me away from it or keep me in a low vibrational place to keep me from ascending and awakening, because they don't want me to reach my potential, right? And as time went on, they couldn't do it. So I think they just kind of left me alone over time. There was many years of intense of this going on. So they were very determined, I think, to kind of derail my progress with the awakening ascension process. So I do feel like this is a part of the awakening ascension process that you need to be aware of, because if it starts happening to you, then you know what's going on. They're trying to derail you. They're trying to keep you from reaching your potential. They're trying to keep you from ascending and awakening. They're trying to keep you on that lower vibrational level. And basically, just don't let them. The key is to not be afraid of them, right? Realize that you're more powerful and stronger than they are. Don't be afraid, and keep yourself in a high vibration. And that will basically, keep them at bay from trying to have any influence over you. And just watch your thoughts too. Just if you have a thought that pops in your head that's negative, or any kind of negative self talk about yourself, or anything that seems like it's not really from you, it just came out of nowhere, then it probably isn't from you. It's probably from them. So just be mindful of that as well and really work on your thoughts and keeping your thoughts in a positive, high vibrational place, about yourself and about everything. And that will help fight, that as well. So I just wanted to share this with you. And I'll be probably moving out of the Awakening Ascension. Um, I might do one more video about it, about this topic, and then move on. But I also want to start getting into talking about energy and what energy is and how it affects us and the different things about energy and just extending some knowledge to you and information. So that'll be coming up soon. So I hope you all have a good day. Thank you for joining me today. Remember to like and subscribe so that you get future videos that I make, and that this, if you hit the like button, then it'll start spreading out the videos to others who might need to know this information, might need to hear it. So thank you and have a good evening. Bye-bye.